I joined this early stage startup called Flexport. And that's where I started getting stock options. And these can be super complex, right? I remember just trying to search for a CPA on Yelp. I called up the first 5 people that showed up. 4 of them didn't even pick my calls. And the 5th one was like, I'm just not taking any clients for this season. I realized they actually knew less than me, right? Being an engineer, I just ended up reading all of this and learning all of it myself. For founders specifically, I think the big thing is QSPS. It's like literally the most magical tax break in America. And if you're getting closer to an exit, you should also think about structuring trusts in the right way. Your CPA has access to all your financial data and they don't do anything with it. It's just lying in a Google Drive somewhere. And then you work with these other people like a estate attorney, you work with a wealth advisor, and the client is actually playing man in the middle between all of these parties. As technology just gets better, you'll have like this personal finance assistant who will handle all of this.
Welcome to Tech Finance. I'm your host, Sasha Orloff, repeat founder and current CEO of Puzzle, and self-professed finance nerd. On this show, we dive into the pulse of B2B fintech, from newly funded startups transforming the office of the CFO to major industry shifts, deals, and partnerships that are reshaping how we think about finance. You'll hear the most important developments, essential analysis, and of course, AI innovations. This show is brought to you by Puzzle and the Turpentine Podcast Network. Let's dive in.
Hello, everybody. I am excited today, again, as part of season 2, just really diving into what does the future look like and how is technology going to make this better? And so today, I'm very excited to have Ankur Dahiya, CEO and founder of 15th, who just raised a big round of funding. And this is one of those types of startups that this audience is going to absolutely love. I know personally, this was something that is and has been a pain of mine forever. It got even more complicated as I became a founder, it became even more complicated as I became an LP in venture funds. It is nothing other than taxes. What else is more interesting to talk about? All right. What is the big picture? What is 15th? And what is the problem that you're solving?
Awesome. Great to be here. So at 15th, what we are trying to do is just build a modern tax firm. If you use a CPA, if you have worked with CPAs before, it's a very old school industry. They're still just working on PDFs and emails. There's still some CPAs who ask you to fax in all their documents. So that's what we are trying to modernize. We hired some of the best CPAs in America, and we are supercharging them with AI.
Before founding 15th, describe the experience of taxes. And then what was the moment that you as the founder were like, oh my God, this needs to be fixed?
Yeah. So I've been in tech for the last 12, 15 years. I worked at Facebook and Twitter back in the day. And then I joined this early stage startup called Flexport, which ended up doing really well. And that's where I started getting stock options. This was back in like 2016. And these stock options can be super complex, right? Like if you have looked into AMT and how this stuff works, it gets pretty complex. I remember just trying to search for a CPA on Yelp. I called up the first 5 people that showed up. 4 of them didn't even pick my calls. And the 5th one was like, I'm just not taking any clients for this season. And as I talked to more people and even like actual CPAs who I could get through to, I realized they actually knew less than me, right? Being an engineer, I just ended up reading all of this and learning all of it myself. So that's what got me super excited about this. I realized all my other fellow engineers at Flexport were also very curious about this stuff. So I started organizing tax education seminars. And these were some of the most popular talks at Flexport. And even now I meet people from Flexport who know me as like the tax person and not like the engineer that I was there. So that's how I got like really excited about this. I made complex spreadsheets that have like all the tax code in them. I've sent those around to like dozens of friends at this point. After Flexport, I actually ended up starting a company that got acquired by Rippling. And then Rippling had similar problems, right? Like I saw the same people there who had stock options, who had RSUs. And so I did some similar stuff there as well. And so for me, when I was thinking of what's next after Rippling, this just seemed like a crazy problem that was still unsolved, right? There was still no great solution for people like me to get tax advice and get help with filing taxes. And then there was this other crazy thing that dropped. I don't know if it was 23 or 24, but there was this Wall Street Journal article about this shortage of CPAs in America, right? Like something like 50% of practicing CPAs are 5 years from retirement age. Every year, fewer and fewer people are graduating with accounting degrees. So the net number of accountants in the US is just going down, whereas tax complexity is going up, tax code is getting crazier, people are getting richer. So it just felt like an industry ripe for disruption. There isn't enough supply. There is a lot of demand for services like this. And then the last piece of the puzzle is LLMs, right? Like trying to automate CPAs pre-LLMs would have been a really hard problem. But now we finally have technology that can like read these documents and actually understand what's going on. So that's how this all came together. Like the shortage of CPAs, my interest in taxes, and then LLMs. And I was like, okay, just put all this together. And that sounds like a really interesting opportunity.
You did your market research, like your own internal hacker news inside of your company, Flexport and Rippling, of like, how many attendees are coming? How many upvotes? How many uplikes am I getting this?
And like my first few clients at the company are just people from Rippling and Flexport. I just emailed all of them and a bunch of them were like, okay, you were the tax guy. If you're doing taxes, I would still love help. They still have no solution. So that was like our validation.
All right. So you have this idea, your curiosity is sort of causing you to read the tax code and sort of decipher this complicated logic, not probably too dissimilar than like coding and being an engineer. And then you decide that you're going to start this company. Is there like a specific aha moment? Like, I'm sure there were a lot of ideas that you were thinking about. There are a lot of other places you get a job. Is there like a particular aha moment where you were like, 15th is my next calling?
I would say it was probably like, it just sort of evolved through the discussions I was having. The big thing was every single person I asked who had a CPA, and I asked them, how's your experience with a CPA? Most of them were actively negative, right? Like most people would say, I'm just not happy with my CPA. The best I got was, it's okay. I even ran into people who were saying that I can refer you to my CPA. He's bad, but I still refer you. I tell people this, that he's bad, and I refer them and people sign up with him. So I think it was like those kind of conversations with like my network, my circle, that really made me think that this is just a massive problem that's not being solved.
So you talk a little bit about sort of this mix of human expertise and LLMs or AI. How does this actually like work in practice?
Yeah. So the way we started the company, we just hired some amazing CPAs, and like a core part of this story is also my co-founder. So she's literally one of the best CPAs in the US. She's done taxes for a billionaire family. She was leading tax advisory at Carta when we ran into each other. And she was also trying to innovate in this space. So I became the tech part of the business. She became the tax part of the business. And like, I think she's also an important part of the decision to start this, because I wouldn't have done it on my own, even though I know so much about taxes, but I did want a real expert in there. And so we just hired a few other amazing CPAs from some of the best tax firms in the US. And we signed our first client without writing a single line of code, right? This was just a regular tax firm, but the face was me and my co-founder, Laura, who were just more personable than regular CPAs. And so that's how the business started. And what we've been doing over the last few quarters is just automate a lot of the mundane stuff, right? This is still a very trust-driven business. So you need a face for people to talk to. So it's not like a chatbot that will do your taxes. Like you get assigned to a dedicated human CPA. That's who you talk to. And behind the scenes, and this, like, let me take a detour. What regular CPAs are doing all day, 80% of their time is being spent in data entry and like following up with clients. Like, hey, did you give me this document? Can I get this document? So that mundane manual part of their workflow is what we are trying to automate with technology. While the CPA is still the face of the relationship, they're the one who talk to you. They help you with strategy and planning. And that's where the AI is also really good at now, right? Like we've really, the state of the art OCR that you can do now with VLM models is just so much better than what you could do like 5 years ago. So that's where we are using this technology on. And then the humans review this stuff. The humans talk to you and sort of make it more personalized to you. And again, we are early in this journey, right? I wouldn't say that all the prep, all data entry is just happening completely with AI. There's a lot of human effort still there. But that's the long-term goal, that have humans focus on this thing that one, they enjoy. Like all the CPAs, no one enjoys doing data entry. They enjoy talking to the client, understanding their situation, helping them figure out how you should structure things. So that's like the long-term plan. Have them focus on that stuff, have them specialize in that stuff. But all the data entry, the managing the number stuff should happen automatically in the backend. So that's how these are like coming together. And that's what we are sort of seeing as working as well.
So you bring a really interesting perspective, because I think it sounds you and your co-founder bring a really sort of unique set of skills, with sort of like a technology engineering co-founder with a tax expert co-founder, right in the age of where LLMs and AI are really starting to like advance. What do you think 15th looks like in like 3 years or 5 years? Or what do you think the capabilities of AI look like in 3 or 5 years?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. Frankly, if AI continues improving at this pace, I do think that we might get to a state where 80% of our clients are just using a fully software solution, right? Because if you're not like super complex, there's literally like 5-10 things you should be thinking about, and you could have LLMs help you with that. So it becomes like a smarter, more automated version of TurboTax, where you don't have to enter data. It pulls data out of you. It asks you what's needed. And then you'll have like premium plans here where you have some complexity or you do want some human expertise. And that's where you can pull in some of these CPAs. But for most people, I think, assuming AI continues improving, you should be able to just fully automate taxes end to end. And we're already experimenting with some of this stuff and like seeing really good results. So I think that definitely happens. I do have like a broader vision as well for like the long term, which is that your CPA has access to all your financial data and they don't do anything with it. It's just lying in a Google Drive somewhere. And then you work with these other people, like a estate attorney, you work with a wealth advisor, and the client is actually playing man in the middle between all of these parties. So I think as technology just gets better, all of this sort of merges, and you'll have like this personal finance assistant who will handle all of this, who'll real time monitor every single thing you're doing, and then bring the wealth advisor or the CPA or the trust perspective. So long term, like long term, right? Like every startup, I think your initial thing is what you end up spending 10 years doing. So that's very possible here, but long.
Hey, we'll get back to the conversation in a moment after a word from our sponsors. All right. One of my favorite tools that I use and we use is Notion. Notion is used by thousands of startups around the world as their connected workspace for everything from engineering specs to new hire onboarding to fundraising. Notion has a special offer for listeners. 6 months of free Notion with unlimited AI, value of over $6,000. So you can access the limitless power of AI right inside of Notion to build and scale your company and team with one tool. Get 6 months free of Notion with unlimited AI, along with custom templates when you apply for notion.com/startups/puzzle. Once again, that's notion.com/startups/puzzle. Go for it. Building a company is hard enough. You shouldn't have to second guess your numbers too. One day, an investor might ask you a question that you just can't answer. The next, you realize your books aren't as clean as you thought. Sound familiar? Puzzle is rethinking accounting from the ground up with an AI-first ledger that eliminates repetitive tasks and gives you real-time financial clarity so you can focus on running your business, not fixing spreadsheets. Accounting should work the way you do, fast, intuitive, and built for the future. Come check us out at puzzle.io.
I love the vision though. It's like, because as a consumer, as a person myself, I have to go and I have to know and interview people across all of these aspects: estate planning and will planning. And then when you get kids, that changes, or you buy a house and that changes, or you start becoming an investor and that changes, or you're an employee and you have stock options that changes. All these things add complexity and you have to go find it. It seems like it's like an individual expert in all of these things. And it'd be really nice to have just a place where we're optimizing across all of the aspects of tax and family planning and estate planning and wealth together, instead of like different law firms or a tax firm. And I don't know how to judge and evaluate who's good or who's not good in any of these things. It's like similar to you. I like hope Yelp helps me out and I go on the top, and similarly, they're like, no, I don't know. You start asking friends and they're like, I don't know. I don't really like this person either, but like, I don't know. I'm just sticking with them. It's like, I see the market opportunity. What is it? This has been the case, I think, for quite a long time. What is it right now? What's the like why now? I mean, we just came off of fundraising, which I want to talk about in a sec, but I know they asked that question. What's the why now?
Yeah, I think a big part of the why now is technology improvements, right? Like what I was saying before, like OCR wasn't really solved, right? And there has been software before that has tried to do this. It just was so finicky. But these VLMs, which is literally like the first generation of these models, right? Like just imagine 3 years from now, they'll read documents better than you or I can.
Yeah, especially when I don't have my glasses on. Like, what am I looking at here? Yeah.
Exactly. So I think technology is the big factor here. Like OCR wasn't there. And the second thing is just an LLM that could read real natural language text and answer you in natural language, right? Like when we started this company, I would run into some tax issue and I would ping Laura to figure out, okay, what's the exact answer for this? What I've noticed lately is I'm pinging Grok or OpenAI more often now, although Laura is still probably the world expert. But these models are so good. They tell me all the nuances. They give me every single thing. So I think it's just like a new era that we are living in now. And this technology will finally allow this stuff to be automated, because there have been many attempts before to build like a VC style wealth advisor, tax firms even. There have been many attempts at it, but all of them like struggle to scale. You have to just hire people and you end up becoming just a marketplace for wealth advisors or CPAs on one side and clients on the other side. Like literally every one of them tries some automation for a few years and then they're like, okay, this is the only way that works.
You have the combination of two founders who deeply understand this problem, also both who worked at venture-backed companies and had more complicated taxes than everybody else. You have an inflection point in the first generation of this, or the first version of this next generation of AI, from very powerful LLMs that can decipher, and the AI in general has gotten to a good state. OCR has gotten to a better state. So I see why this stuff comes together and it can create an incredible opportunity. You decided to go raise venture capital versus just sort of build a firm kind of on your own terms. Tell me a little bit about why, and then how did this round come together? What does this unlock for 15th?
That's a good question. I mean, obviously there's many schools of thought and you can like bootstrap stuff like this as well. My thinking was like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to put my heart and soul in it. And even building a bootstrap business, it's not like you can take it chill. You're still competing with the rest of the world. So you still have to work your hardest. And so my thinking was, if I'm working my hardest, I want to just tackle the biggest problem and build the best solution. Which again, you can do it through a bootstrapped way. You can build an amazing solution. You can build an amazing company. It's just going to be slower than doing it the VC route, right? Because you have to fund it through the revenue you're generating. Your hiring has to be slower. Your marketing has to be slower. Your product development has to be slower. So my thinking was, if I want to put in my all, I want to take a bigger swing and just do it faster. So that's like the reason I initially decided we do need funding for this. The second thing is, I think we just found amazing investors. So when Laura and I were sort of looking at this tech space, we met folks from A-Star, who were our initial backers. And they were also looking at this space. They helped us a lot in the early days. They even brainstormed with us. And they put in like the initial money. So I just found like really amazing VCs. So A-Star and General Catalyst after them, Alex from there. So I found really amazing VCs.
Shout out to Alex for the introduction. Thank you, Alex. Big fan of GC.
Yeah. So I found these amazing VCs who I did want to work with and build this. I did a VC-backed company before, so I had some experience in this. And I was very particular about what kind of investors I want to work with. But like, I think in these two firms, we did find someone who I was really confident on. So that's kind of how it came together.
I love it. I was looking down as you were talking because your comment reminded me of a tweet from yesterday from your former boss, somebody you might know named Parker Conrad. And he was talking about, he was reposting a investor who had talked about how you don't need that much venture capital and you can build these like really capital efficient businesses. And he posted, the way this will play out is a competitor will raise a ton of financing, invest more deeply in R&D, build out a better product, build out a better team, and absolutely crush this guy with sales and marketing. You have to play the game on the field. The raise very little strategy only works if you're in a market that most people believe incorrectly is tiny and unimportant. If other people are paying attention, you got to beat the next guy. And so your comment sort of raised is, if there is an opportunity, there is an opportunity to build something pretty incredible. There's an inflection point in technology. There's an inflection point in bringing that technology with a technical founder to a level of expertise that makes it really exciting. So I see why. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So just one point to add, like I tell all my friends this all the time, like the world is insanely competitive now, right? Like, I don't know if it used to be this competitive 10, 20 years ago. I'm only in the arena now, but it's insane. Like the smartest people in the world are in SF, just building the craziest stuff, raising the most money, hiring the best people, and just working day in, day out, right? Like all these SF companies are now doing 5 days a week. I know companies are doing 6 days a week in the office. So the world is so competitive. You can't like compete in a big arena with like less resources. You kind of have to go all in and just bring your best foot forward. Otherwise you'll just lose out. It's very hard to compete.
Yeah. Was there any differences or unexpected lessons you learned fundraising this time around that were different than the last time around?
I think at least seed fundraising, it's more about, I think I realized from the last time, it's about people and the sort of story and vision you can create, right? Like no one is looking for like traction or code written or product. Or I mean, like, again, there's multiple schools of thought. Like there are people who raise money after some traction and product as well. But I feel like the best rounds are done based on story and the people behind it, especially in this seed stage. So that was like really important to me, that one, we position our team as like really amazing. And so what we did was, I think Laura and I have a stellar profile in our particular verticals. But I also convinced a few engineers, people who worked with me at Flexport before. Laura convinced some amazing tax people from the best tax firms. So we had all these people like signed up, ready to go. And my initial deck like had this slide with like 8 people who are all ready to go. So I think that's a huge signal that like these guys can build a team and they already have the team ready, because that's what people are investing on at this point. So I think that was like the big thing, like story and team is sort of what matters. And obviously like market. I think you have to pick something that has enough juice to squeeze. Otherwise, like none of this really matters.
Yeah. What's been one of the challenges in building so far? Any of the surprises from there's a difference between giving a volunteer seminar internally at Flexport or Rippling to a bunch of people and finding yourself and actually now building the company to deliver on this promise of what you're doing. What's been one of the biggest challenges or surprises so far?
Yeah, I think I would say 2 specific challenges come to mind, right? Like one is just figuring out what product to build, right? Which is a challenge for every early stage company. But you can make like a big vision, but what's like the incremental product you're going to build to achieve it? And we have had to do a lot of iterations on it, a lot of learning from people. And as I was saying, we signed the first people without writing any line of code. So these guys are coming in because Laura is an amazing CPA and we promised them an amazing product, right? But you have to kind of figure it out and build it and deliver it. I think that was really challenging, but I'm happy with how we executed on it. I think it turned out to go really well. The second challenge in any business like this is just trust, right? It's such a trust-based business. Like imagine going out to someone and being like, just trust this random company that started 2 weeks ago, with all of your money and trust that they'll file your taxes. So I think that was also a big challenge, and we basically leveraged our credibility, right? Like I signed up a lot of people I knew initially. My investors helped a lot in like reaching out to their network and vouching for us by like putting their name on this. So like winning that trust was really hard initially, but I think now we have built that initial core that now if we talk to a client, I can just tell them, oh, we have like 5 clients who work at your company already, and feel free to like Slack them and just ask them. So that was a big challenge early on.
Love it. So we are getting close to tax time right now. I'm assuming that's a little bit of the name of 15th as you start. What's a piece of advice that you give to founders, engineers, finance people, stockholders, people with complicated taxes who want to be more proactive about their taxes? What are some of the things that they do wrong?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is you want to talk to a tax person during the year and not in January or February, right? Like most of this tax stuff, once December 31st goes by, like you can't change it. And I often get people who are like, okay, the biggest thing I want is reduce my 2024 taxes. And I'm like, there's nothing you can do now. It's over. So I think that's like the biggest sort of process thing that you should consult with a tax advisor during the year and not just talk to them in Q1. And that's why like we don't sell filing only services. What we sell is like an annual plan that includes multiple checkpoints and proactive planning. And then at the end, you get this filing as well. But if we are doing our job right during the year, we already have all the data. We already have all the context, and filing is just like a matter of fact thing that we'll do at the end. So that's like the big process advice. Getting more specific, I think for this audience, when you're getting paid in equity, right? Equity has a lot of nuances. Like if you're exercising stock options and then you're selling them, how you report them, what's the exact date of grant versus exact date of exercise. I've talked to people who have had to overpay or underpay like hundreds of thousands in taxes just because they messed up the date. So being very careful about what are like the dates and the cost basis for equity is super important. For founders specifically, I think the big thing is like QSPS. It's like literally the most magical tax break in America. And so like make sure you're doing the QSBS stuff, 83B election, all of them the right way. And if you're getting closer to an exit, you should also think about structuring trusts in the right way, because there are ways to sort of maximize the benefit you get from QSPS. So for founders, I think that can have like an impact of tens of millions in taxes. So that's definitely something to keep in mind.
Love it. Love it. And I'm going to ask a question that we can totally strike if it's irrelevant, but just while we're here on the subject of taxes, why are K1s so late all the time? Is it really that complicated? I do not understand. I have all of my tax information. It's March. I've sent everything to my tax person. The only thing year after year, I'm always waiting for K1s. Why is this so hard? Why does it take so long? Do you know?
Yeah, I think my understanding is that these K1s have to be generated by some accountants at the partnership or the LLC level. So it's not like a process where Rippling is generating a W-2 for you, or it's like a pay stub that's coming through some software. It's usually like a bunch of accountants who have to sit together, look at all the books, and then like figure out how to distribute it among the partners. That's what K1s are, like how the partnership's income and expenses get distributed. So I think it's just like a lot of that human stuff that delays these. There might also be some stuff where I think you have to wait till you're doing the company's filings and then you generate the K1s. So there might be some of that. But yeah.
I don't know. General Cass, will you give 15th more money and let the Carta tax expert, your co-founder, go solve this too? This is like so frustrating and annoying.
This is one last thing on that. Like I've heard people at Carta were trying to solve this. Like I think Henry from Carta, at one point they were trying to be like, let's try to get K1s automated so we can do this early. But I'm not sure what's like the progress on that. But that was an initiative at some point.
Henry Carta, let's go. Come on. This is your differentiator this is your enduring legacy. Ankur, this was great. For those interested in 15th, what's the best way for people to get started? Are you open for business?
We are still open for business, probably for another week, 2 weeks, maybe. So get in while you can. You can just go to our website, 15th.com. Or if you forget the whole name, you can just do 15th.com as well. And there you can like book a call with our team. Or there's also a self-serve flow where you can check out the product and you can also sign up through there.
And if that doesn't work, are you taking new clients April 16th?
Yeah, we start signing clients for the next tax year from April 16th.
I love it. Ankur, this was great. Thank you for building this. Thank you for coming along. Thank you for sharing all this with the audience. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this was really fun. Thanks for inviting me. And I just love talking about taxes. So invite me again.
Good luck. Will in 3 years, we'll do one where my AI will interview your AI and we'll go sip martinis or drink a beer down at the bar. Bye.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to Tech Finance with Puzzle and Turpentine. If you got value from this episode, please share it with anybody building or funding the future of technology. And please leave us a review wherever you're listening and tell me about what you want to hear more of. If you're looking for accounting software you'll actually love to power your company, check out puzzle.io, the modern accounting platform for the AI era. Tech Finance is part of Turpentine, the awesome podcast network behind Econ 102 with Noah Smith, Turpentine VC, Complex Systems with Patrick McKenzie, and so many more.